Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for taking the time to my presentation. And okay, thank you. So my name is ADRIAN LAUBISCH. I'm from a company called AIYRA. It's actually one of the oldest companies in Brazil. I will talk a little about that. And I will talk a little about ADVERGAMES. And the idea, the main idea about the talk will be how we can have a real gameplay experience when you develop a game for other purposes that are not only for entertainment, such as, for example, ADVERGAMES, when you develop a game, so you can, for example, stress a message for a brand or for an event or anything that you want the game to be a helpful tool for you to reach your audience, okay? So, a little bit about ourselves. Our company, as I said, is called AIYRA. We are 17 years in the market. That's a lot of time. That's really a lot of time. That's my gray hair here, okay, so you can see. And we have delivered more than 140 projects already. And in this 17 years, we work a lot with clients, okay, but we don't do very much external development. We do whole projects. So the clients they come to us. They usually don't have some sort of game development expertise inside of the company. Sometimes it happens, but usually what the client wants is that we develop the whole game for them. Okay, so basically this is how we work. And we have multiple platforms and technologies know-how. Since we have been doing this for 17 years already, you can imagine that we have passed through all of the technologies and moments on the game development scene, like Java Mobile, Flash, HTML5, Unity, Godot, and a lot of other things that if I start to talk, I'm going to take all my time talking about the technologies. But the platforms and technologies know-how, it's interesting also because we usually have a very broad view of our projects and our clients and how we can work with them. So this is one of the topics that are important because we have a multilateral view of each project, not only focusing on the technology, but also on how the technology can serve the purpose of the project itself, okay? And we have strong experience in working with several international brands. Here are some of them, like Miraculous Ladybug. I will talk a little more about them later. Okay, but this is basically a summary about ourselves, our company. And our structure, this is something that usually people are interested in knowing about, so I put this slide for it, because this is how we work. We have 3 verticals in our company. We have our main verticals, that the vertical that we provide services, as I said, is there where we develop our ADVERGAMES and other services, like sometimes edutainment games for companies. And we have the same approach when we develop ADVERGAMES and we develop edutainments, that the game must be fun. The game must be a game first and foremost, and it also needs to have, of course, its content and its purpose, but it needs to be a game. People must be compelled to play the game, even if they are playing other games. This should not be feel, in the case of edutainment, for example, as they are studying. They need to be learning as they play, but they not need to feel that they are studying. Okay, but for ADVERGAMES, it's the same principle. They can feel as they were watching an ad. You know, that's destroy the purpose. The idea is that they feel like they are playing a game and they're being impacted by a message that is built inside a game. That's the whole point of it, to build a real game, okay? And we have our other verticals. We have a mentorship co-development vertical that we help smaller teams to achieve success. And they usually have a lot of experience in developing games. They are very good programmers, very good artists, very good musicians, but they don't know in the beginning of their work lives. They know a lot about the process of development and the whole psychology thing, the cycle that you pass when you develop a game from beginning to the end. So we help this, and sometimes we also do co-developments with them. And we have our originals vertical. This is the smaller one because we are very focused and we take one project at a time. Okay, but we do a lot of projects at the same time with different teams. So this is basically how we do. So we understand how our business is structured. And here are some brands that we have worked with. Dragon Ball Z, I believe that doesn't need any introduction. Everyone knows that. And Chevalier Zodiac is very famous in France. I don't know if yeah, here in Belgium it's also famous as it is in, but in Brazil it's huge. Okay, it's as huge as in France. Okay, yeah. And Miraculous Ladybug, of course, everyone knows that. And Care Bears, it was huge in Brazil as well in the beginning of the 90s and sometimes like that. And Alvin and Chipmunks, some French brands here. So basically, these are some of the brands that we have worked with. That's not all of them. As I said, we had developed more than 140 projects already. But these are some interesting brands that we have worked. So I believe that it was interesting for you guys to know about. Okay, so okay, let's talk about ADVERGAMES. And I always believe that it's important to start stressing what's not ADVERGAMES, okay? Because there seems to be some sort of confusion in people when they think about it. And it's interesting to start by saying what's not, okay? Well, they are not in-game advertising. In-game advertising is when you have a game, for example, a football game, and then you put advertising in the game, like in the some billboards or stuff like that. Okay, this is in-game advertising. So these are not ADVERGAMES. Okay, and generic game asset swapping. This is very common when the clients come to us. They usually come with an idea. They say, "Oh, I want a Mario game, but it's not a Mario. It's a medic, and the medic collects some pills." And okay, guys, that's not how it works on developing ADVERGAMES. You need to understand a lot of stuff to come up with an original mechanic that strengthen your message and not only do a generic game asset swapping. Okay. And especially when we consider brand games, as I said earlier, this is important. ADVERGAMES they are not necessarily linked to brands. Okay, you can develop an ADVERGAME for a festival, and the festival does not need to be a brand. You know, you can develop the ADVERGAME to. The idea is to promote something. Could be a brand, could be other stuff. Okay, a message, a campaign, other stuff like that. But in the terms of the brand games, the IP games, they're not licensed games per se. Of course, there are games that we are allowed to use the license, but they are not licensed games. We are not developing the games with the purpose of selling the game and getting money of it. This is a very important difference. This is a service that we provide, and this product is generally offered for free for the public. Okay, so they feel like licensed games because we do them that way, but they're not licensed games. Okay, and it's not also external development because, as I said, usually our clients, they don't have the internal development efforts, so we don't complete the development effort. We do the whole project as an external contractor to deliver an additional asset for their marketing campaign. Okay, but they are not traditional marketing pieces. One of the most common errors that we see is that when some marketing agents, for example, like to treat the game as it was an ad or a trailer. And you cannot expect for the public to respond to the same way for these kind of different kinds of marketing pieces. So this is important to know that they are not traditional marketing pieces; they are different ones, and they cannot be side project, last minute ideas. This is some sort of, I don't know, Vietnam flashback that we have, because every time that we start working with projects, there's a very big possibility that people will come to us like 1 week before the event, or 1 month before the event, or 1 day before the event. Oh, you can come up with a game for tomorrow, please. That's not a joke. It already happened more than once. Okay, so there cannot be side projects and last minute ideas, because sometimes in the marketing area you can come up with a different piece, you know, for tomorrow. You can come up with a different creative. It's not ideal, of course, but you can create a banner or something like that. But games are not like this, so you cannot do this. Okay, but okay. what they are or what they should be as we perceive them. That's important because not all advert games are created equal, okay? And you will see a lot of different approaches on advert games on the industry, but this is our approach and what we believe that they should be, okay? And they should provide a strong link with the desired brand, message, values, products, etc. And through the mechanic, this is very important. You need to have these linked to your mechanic. You can't do this. You get a game that already exists and you put your brand, your message on it. You need to think, of course, that you can consider a mechanic that already exists, but if you consider it, you need to consider it if you are seeing that this mechanic has a strong link to the message that you want to pass, okay? And then, for example, you can, okay, I have this, it's going to be a mobile RPG, and then I will add like these mechanics so I can pass the correct message that I want, okay? And of course, it needs to offer real gameplay experience. As I said, people need to feel like they're playing a game. They're using the time that they were using for playing other games for playing our game. They're not watching an ad. So this needs to be respected. And they should be part of a larger marketing strategy. If you use another game correctly, they complement other marketing strategies, and they can create a virtuous circle, okay? Because people can see your for example, we develop games for movies that people discovered about those movies by playing the games. And then they started to searching on the internet for the movies, and then they were impacted by the other marketing pieces, so they create a virtuous circle, okay? And it's very important for them to be considered under a branding umbrella beside performance. We all know that we develop games, so metrics are king. And this is very important, of course. You need to get everything that you get on your game, but then you need to know how much people played, how much they got stuck on that specific level, and all of that stuff that we know. But it's very important to understand the branding performance. For example, if you have, as we have, our advert games being featured on regular game portals in Brazil, this is very important for the brand, because this is not the kind of thing that happens with usually with advert games. So all of our games that I showed here, they have been featured on regular games portals. So this is very important, because it impacts how the public perceive them. Okay, and this leads to several interesting consequences. So. Okay, and of course it needs to be developed with a tailored approach. You cannot use the same approach for one game and for the other game. That's what we believe. Okay, and this is something that it feels easy, and for example, it feels easy for someone to say, okay, I'm going to copy this, but actually this is more like the end of the road, you know, because we have been doing this for 17 years. So this is something that is very hard to reproduce, because you need experience on the whole process of getting from the idea, okay, and up until understanding and all of this stuff, right? So it's way easier to explain with some examples that we did. So I'm going to show you 3 of them for you guys, okay? And the first one this is my personal favorite as a gamer, okay? I know that we are not supposed to have favorite projects as a company, but it's my favorite game that we developed as a gamer. I really like this game as a gamer. We had 500,000 players for this title. We got an average score of 5.4 out of 5 in the stores. Okay, it was linked to the movie launch in Brazil. This is important to stress, because that was the objective, because this movie was a very hot topic when it was released. I don't know if you guys remember this, because people didn't want for Knights of the Zodiac, Chevalier do Zodiac, to be developed as a CGI movie. Way before the CGI series for Netflix, way before this game was in 2014, this movie came out. And it was a very hot topic, and was a lot of comments on the stores saying this game is way better than the movie. So it was something very interesting to see. But I personally like the movie. Some of people on our team like the movie as well. Some of people didn't like the movie because, and I understand the reasons that usually people say that they don't like the movie. But it's a fine product, and it was very interesting because this case we had, this is very common also, okay, with the development of advert games on similar cases. But we had we had these images for the saints, okay, the chevalier, and we received them in high resolution from Toei, but we had not any authorization to alter them in any way, and we couldn't animate them as well. We hadn't, even if we wanted to do, we couldn't, because we hadn't the authorization, and we also had a very low resolution version of the movie, so we can watch, but we had the trailer in high resolution. So with all of that, the only art that we had was the poster as a PSD, an open PSD. But so what we would do, you know? So we come up with an idea of a card game, okay? That feels like a kind of I don't know, like, you know, when you play a MOBA, that your characters goes strong by the going of the play. This feels like it. You have a strength. You have your defense. You have some stuff that you can change, an offensive stance, a defensive stance, and when you select different stances, you get different cards. Okay, and all of these cards are screenshots that we had to took from the trailer. We had to come. It was the opposite way. We developed the mechanic, and then we tried to come up with some names that would match some scenes of the trailer. Okay, and the game had like 50 cards. So all of them are extracted from screenshots from the trailer, and they all made sense. This is something very interesting, and also one of the interesting topics about this project is that all of the characters, they use the same cards except for their special card. Okay, so all of these cards, they had to make sense for all of the characters, since they are very different between them. And we watched Chevalier du Zodiac a lot when we were kids, so we knew a lot about the IP. But the difference between the players, the characters, was their attributes, their special cards, and how they respond to each other, and a lot of passive effects. I really love this game, and this is one of the reasons why we have players still ask for us for this game to return to today. Every month, every week, we have some sort of message on our email or on our Facebook page asking, please take this game back. And then I said, guys, we can't take this game back because we don't have the license anymore. You know, it was a game that was developed for the movie. Of course, that we are working on a reskin version of this game with other art, keeping the same mechanic. It's already advanced on this project, but it's a side project because it is not an advert game anymore. It's a game that we develop for ourselves. So it falls on the originals vertical, and not anymore on the services vertical. Okay, and it's very interesting because the game was made for the Brazilian market, and so it was in Portuguese, of course, and it was a hit on Thailand. People come up with a wiki with a translation for the cards, and then they started playing the game and inviting them each other. So it was a very interesting thing to see. As I said, this was my personal favorite. Okay, but this was the smaller one actually, because I believe that the IP is 500,000 is a lot of players. Okay, but it was the smaller one. Okay. The second one is actually multiple cases in one. Okay, we had this app called Gloop Games. It was a huge hit in Brazil, interesting enough, this game was released all over the world, as I said, but this one was released only in Brazil. So the numbers, the downloads, they need to be taken differently, because if you have 500,000 players all over the world, but when you have 5 million players only in Brazil, that's like, I don't know, 2.5% of the population of Brazil. And Brazil is very big. So, and this was because available only in Brazil because of licensing topics, because the license for Miraculous, Alvin, and stuff like that, and different countries have different license for developing the game. So we could only release this game in the countries where our client, that was Rede Globo, had the license for the characters. It was different than the movies, because the movies were distributed by the movie distributors all over the world. So that was okay to release them worldwide. It was very interesting also because it was a game hub. Actually, the Globe Games was a game hub with when the game ended, the hub ended. It had 50 games that were developed in a span of 3 years, all by us. Okay. And like mini games, okay, not complete games as this one, like this penalty game for Alvin, and this also one of my favorite games inside the Globe Games for Ladybug. Actually, Carolina was the game designer for this one, and it had a very good score also on stores. And the Brazilian store is very harsh on the scores. So when we had this score, it was pretty good for us. Okay, and one very interesting topic about this game is that it was as I said, an ADVERGAME game. The idea was to keep promoting the series for the channel. Okay, our client was the channel that featured those titles like Ladybug, Alvin, and etc. in Brazil. But the exposure was so big that they starting to sell some promoted content for brands inside the app. For example, like they have a huge toy store, and they wanted to promote a promotion for like Children's Day in Brazil. And then by summing up all of the campaigns that they did, it was a very targeted, very I forgot the correct, very done very carefully, okay, the campaigns, because it was aimed at children, so we couldn't have any kind of insecure content, okay, and they couldn't upload they not work as ads, you know. It was very curated. That's what the correct answer. They sent the material to us, we approved the material, and then we upload the content inside the app. But the interesting stuff is that when they summed up all of the revenue for these kind of sponsored content, actually the app turned in profit. The app got more money that it cost to develop all those 50 games. So it was very interesting. It was not the idea behind it, but it was a very, because of the approach. Okay. And was, as I said, was linked to the official continuous distribution of the shows in Brazil, the Globe channel for Rede Globo. It was a collaboration with the licensing partner, and it has had a very strong organic presence. We could, for example, leave the app without any updates and without any marketing piece for like months, and the downloads kept the same. The downloads didn't fail. It was very interesting to see. Of course, when we did some campaigns, the downloads and the internal metrics rose, of course. But when we stopped doing them, they go back to like a support level, very, very strong, like 10,000 of daily players, like something like this, you know. So it was a very interesting case, especially because this profit that was not initially predicted. Okay, and the last one, yeah, actually these are two cases. Our two Dragon Ball Z games that we developed. It was a PC fighting game in 2013 for the first movie, the Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, the first one, and the second one, mobile RPG for the second movie, the Dragon Ball Z Revival of F, the Resurrection of Frieza. Okay, and was two different movie distributors. The first one was Diamond Films, and actually the first Dragon Ball Z game was the reason why Diamond Films called us to develop the Saint Seiya, the Cavaleiro do Zodiac game. But when the second movie came to Brazil, it was being distributed by Fox. So they communicated between themselves, and then Fox and us had an agreement, and we developed this game for them. The second one, this mobile RPG. Combining the two games, we had 1.6 million players, combining the two of them. And it was interesting because this one was distributed only on a local store in Brazil, and we had like 300,000 players. And the second one, the mobile RPG, had 1.3 million players in 1 month. Okay, so it was a huge hit. It, as I said, was linked to both movie launches, the first one and the second one. And in the first one, it was something very interesting that we had the official voice talent for the Brazilian market. We hired him to do the voices for the movie, for the game. So the voice actor went to our office, and the developers didn't knew about that. But his normal voice is the voice of Goku, and people started literally crying when they heard him coming to the door and talking with them, because it was a very interesting experience for everyone. Because, as I said, everyone here we have been watching Dragon Ball Z games since we were kids. Okay, so it was a very interesting with this guy's voice. So it was a very interesting thing to see. And one very I know that I said don't care all about metrics, but this metrics is very interesting. This game in Mexico, not in Brazil, had got to be the 11th game in the whole Google Play Store, and the 34th app on the whole Google Play. You consider all of the apps in Google Play, this game was the 34th. In Brazil, it was actually the 100th. It was not very far away. It is still something very strong. But in Mexico, and the game was in Portuguese. But as you see here, there is no words in this game. Everything is very easy for you to understand just by looking at images and numbers. So you have these powers and you use, and it was, as I said, a hit also on Spanish speaking countries, and also the average score was very high. And this is something that is very interesting, because when you think about brands like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that, of course that the brand helps you to get exposure, of course. But this is the quality of the product. This is important, because there was this game, actually this game came on the same month as the Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle was launched in 2015, and this game was way higher for the time of the movie, of course, because it was not intended to be a long-term project, of course. But people started fighting on the comments, saying which game they prefer. Some people said the Dokkan Battle was better, and some people said that no, this game is better. So it was in the Google Play comments. So it was very interesting to see. Okay, and I believe that's okay. So why they work with us is our clients. I mean, this is a summary of what I talked so far. But basically, we work with full cycle cases, as I said: concept, development, launch, support, evolution. We do the whole thing as a boutique approach. Okay. We had broad cross-area transmedia know-how. We know not only about developing games, but also about transmedia, about how to approach brands, how to adapt those ideas for these kind of projects. Okay, and as I said, we have a boutique, deep involvement with our clients. We like to do this very closely with them, and we have strong experience in working with brands and IPs. Working with brands, IPs, this comes with a lot of challenges. So it's very important for us to know how to do this. And we have a mixed approach. This is important as well, as I said, not only our experience of all of these years, but we have a mixed approach of consumer gamer and producer mindsets. Of course, that we develop the game considering it as on a producer level, of course, professionally, but we we develop games that we would like to play. It doesn't matter if it's a Care Bears game for children that are different for our age targets. We kind of think like to think about, what if this game was being played by my kid? Okay, would I be interested in playing this game with him, with her? Okay, this is something that we do. And we usually also like to do games with different levels of challenge. If especially when it's for an IP that's for younger children, we develop a game that if the kids, the younger kids play, they have a lot of fun. But if an adult try to play the game, they discover different levels of gameplay that the kids would not need to know for playing, but they are there for the more experienced, more hardcore players to play. Okay. Especially the Care Bears one was a huge hit in our clients. They all had some competitions because of the project. And of course, this is important to say because when considering international clients, we have a good exchange rate between Brazilian reais and euros, and this is strategically important for when international clients hire us, comparing with different kinds of other people that could provide them with this services. Okay, so I believe that's it. 2 minutes left, right? That was good. That was good. Okay, so do you have any questions?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I was very curious to understand what was advert game. So I liked your slide where you mentioned what is not an advert game. But how much does it cost? Because it seems to me, I'm not a technical person, right? I'm more a marketing person, but it seems to me like very easy games to develop. Or is it a wrong assumption?
It depends, actually. It depends on the approach. Okay, and as I said, this is what we should, what we believe that advert games should be. Okay, of course that you could do a very you could develop a very small, very quick experience, like a mini game, for example. And of course, these ones are cheaper to make, even if they're not advert games, depending on the scope. Okay, but what we like to do is to develop these advert games as they were games. You know, so being an advert games for us, for how we work, it doesn't matter on the size of the project, on the approach that we have. Usually, what matters is the scope, what we need to achieve, the time that we have, the budget that the client have. It's very common for us to work with budgets. The client, it's very common for marketing campaigns to have the budgets separate for each kind of pieces that are going to have, and we have like this much for this, and this much for this much for this, and then they usually come to us with this. For these advert games, we had they range not Globe Games, because Globe Games, as I said, was like 50 games in one, but the other two they range between the range of 30 to 100K USD. Okay, it's like this. Depends on the approach. Depends on the time that we have. Depends on how much content the game need to have. But usually the more recent ones, they got over 100K because of the complexity. Okay, especially Globe Games, for example. Globe Games was way over it because as I said, was 50 games on one. Even though they are mini games, but that's the idea. Okay. I believe it's not. Okay.
And the other question was, maybe I will leave someone else to. I will get it back.
Okay. No problem.
I lost it. Anyone? No, I think I lost my question. I will come back to you.
Okay, no problem.
I jump in. Sorry to have missed the beginning of the
No
presentation.
problem.
As you can see, I'm the moderator, but I had to be on 4 places at the same time. Some problems to solve. I know that you are a professional of talk, so don't worry for you. But I have a question for you. We saw in the presentation you managed to reach millions of players, and something that a lot of young developers dreams of. And ADVERGAME is an interesting business model also when you're starting your business, because then you are paid to make the game for the brands, for the companies who want to use gaming to reach the audience. But the usual business model is creating a game to be sold. Do you think that we can build a bridge between these two business models, and then through the ADVERGAMEs building communities of players, and then going further in the development and selling then maybe a larger version of the game, a full version?
Yeah, actually, this almost happened sometimes with us. We had some clients that they wanted to develop games to promote other games, and then the idea was for these games to be evolved in other games. But not only this worked because of several internal reasons of their strategy, but this is something. Yeah, this is something important. It's hard to do in terms of negotiation, because this time you will turn the ADVERGAME into a licensed product, so you need completely different terms of negotiation, because you pass from a marketing asset that is intended to promote something to a product on itself, that the idea would be to get profit by selling the game. But the path is interesting. As I said, we almost did it sometimes. Some clients had this idea, but since it's a very complex process, considering especially the licensing deal, and also sometimes they don't want to invest in something that is going to be sold afterwards. But I like the path. I like the path a lot because it makes sense, you know.
Yes, in the general value, of course, if there is an IP, then you have to pay royalties to the IP owner. That's logical. But I remember even at the 16-bit generation of console, we had that Smarties games and games with McDonald's. So
and
it's something
7
that
Up.
we didn't see now, full games, but for a brand.
Yeah. Actually, this was when we started developing ADVERGAMEs. These were some of our staples in our studies. The 7 Up game, ADVERGAME, Cool Spot. Do you guys know it? Okay, so it's a fantastic game. It's a very good game, and it was interesting because I remember that has a problem with the character. I don't remember, it was in all of Europe, or in some countries in Europe, that 7 Up had already another character in these countries, or I believe whole Europe, and then they released the game in these countries, but stripping the 7 Up brand, and the game continued to work very well because the game was very good. So this is one of the ideas that you can create a game that is an ADVERGAME. The idea there was mainly because video games were a very young medium, so it was interesting for the brands to be on that medium, so everyone could see that, and you couldn't at that time. You couldn't distribute a game for free because the games had cost to distribute, because you need to put it on cartridges. Nowadays, with digital distribution, is it possible for us to distribute these games for free? But especially Cool Spot is a very interesting case because of that. People paid to buy a game that was not a licensed game per se. It was a game intended to promote. Of course, since it was sold, the idea was to get profit, of course. But the idea was also to get some brand awareness for the soda, right?
You find your question back? But I just finished what I was doing, please. It's the history. It's important knowing where we're coming from and to see what's the situation today, maybe the future. From the 16-bit, I think what damaged the ADVERGAME is internet, with the evolution of the technology, like you said, from the cartridge game, we went to cheaper games on Flash, for example, and then it was easy for marketing agencies to sell that to the customers. With, okay, for a few €1,000 we can make a game, but a poor game, and that doesn't work because it doesn't reach the audience. And I think we have to come back from that, and like you are doing, making a real game shorter. But so how do you see the future of that then, with the evolution of the technology, the new formats? Do you see there opportunities? I think in VR, for example, or like Will presentation early today in Fortnite, where we can also put content with brands?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the interesting part about our industry is that there are always new platforms, always new experiences. Back then, it was the whole industry, as I said. But right now, with VR and a lot of different approaches, like mobile were like 15 years ago, that we didn't have we consider mobile gaming as we have now, and I totally agree with you. I believe but this is something that usually happens when you have a very democratic approach on development. If anyone can develop, which is very good, this is not something that is bad. If you have platforms like Flash, that a designer could develop a game even without coding, okay, but it could end up being a bad game. But this is a subproduct of the democratization of access. So this is not a bad thing on itself, but it comes with a problem. And actually, this was combined with the internet, because you had platforms that were easy for you to develop, even if you don't have an experience in developing games. And you also had a mean to deliver this content for free for your players. So these two things combined ended up creating a lot of stigmatization for the games, for ADVE games, of them to be perceived as cheap games and bad games and games that are only there. And they usually, this happened because the games are really bad. This is not a wrong kind of take on these kind of games, but I really believe that's a future for this kind of games. But the point is that they're not easier to make than any other kind of game. You know, actually they're harder because you usually have smaller budgets, you have smaller deadlines, but you have the IP. You know, so you have a risk reward, a very good risk reward scenario if you know what you are doing, okay. But they need to be approached as, of course, as real games, because they should be. This is because why I put that should be on my presentation, because they are not usually like this, but we believe that they should be.
I like to look outside the video game industry, and like you mentioned, I believe that with the evolution of the technology, tomorrow everybody can create games and monetize it. And if we compare with TV, was for decades the main media, and they managed also to secure all the marketing budget more than all the other medias. And in a few years, with the arrival of video platforms like YouTube and then Twitch, we had amateurs without any cost, not like TV, where you have to have technological knowledge to produce a TV show with a lot of material that costs a lot of money. So in once, everybody can create content. We name that content creator, and through the audience they can monetize it. And then brands were interested. They said, okay, but then you put some sponsoring in it, and then we reach cheaper the audience that you want to reach, because the younger audience is no more on TV. And today the younger audience, and even the older, are on video games. So I think with the evolution of Roblox and Fortnite and Minecraft, there will be more and more opportunities for anyone to create content, game mechanics, and monetize it through sponsoring.
Yeah, and the interesting part of it is that these platforms that you mentioned, they already have some sort of monetization on its genes, you know, because the internet for itself, it was a very different process of internet becoming mainstream, and people are used for content on the internet to be free. So this is one of the reasons that's why it's so hard for you to monetize, for example, web games. But for these platforms, especially for Roblox and Minecraft, the platforms and these content, they are so focused on the content creators that these kind of monetizations, they are built within the platform. So if the content creators want to develop these games, they already have an opportunity to monetize their games by themselves, by the rules of the platform. So this is something that for me is the beginning of an era, a different era that we have, because the same reason that we can't consider advert games as common market pieces, we can't consider user created games as user created videos. You have different kind of interaction. You have different kind of public that would consume them. So this is something that this kind of user generated content like Roblox and Fortnite, for me, they're a very good opportunity. They're different for this one. But as I said, there are a lot of different platforms for the brands to explore and for the creators to create. Okay.
So I finish with my question. Do we have more questions in the audience? Melissa. Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
I work with Adrian. So one of the things that you were saying, Jean, is that people that are maybe beginning to develop games, they maybe will see this as an opportunity. But one thing that I wanted you guys to talk a little bit about is that in order to do this, you have to know marketing, right?
Yeah.
And this is something maybe that people in the beginning of their careers, they don't know yet. So yeah, this is something.
This is something that's interesting, not specifically for advert games, but this is something that we usually say, because in Brazil it's very common for people who have the following template for starting to work with games. They want to develop games because they like to play games. These are two totally different things, but they want to develop games because they like to play games, and they want to develop their dream game, and then they discover that developing games cost money, and they start to develop games for other people just for the reason to get money to develop their dream game. But they usually and then they understand that this takes a long time because you're working with a small profit margin because you're working with services, of course, and then they start to not being very happy on developing this kind of games, and this creates a very bad cycle of clients thinking that game developers, they don't work very well because they are always in a bad mood, because these people that are working with this, they don't want to develop these. So this that Carolina said about knowing about markets is another aspect of it. When you develop these kind of games that we develop, you cannot start doing these kind of games because they are on a different approach. And when I usually say about what I usually say for these young creators, the young developers, is that you have to be very careful to not do today what you don't see you doing in like some years. Even if you, for example, I really want to develop this game as I don't know, an indie game. I know that it is hard for people to develop games by themselves at late of night, some like 2-3 hours. But if you consider developing your product as your own product, and if you use service games as a step for you to get there, this is very hard to do the switch. This is very, very hard to do the switch, okay? And specifically for what Carolina mentioned about marketing, and this has to do with what Jean mentioned about what you need to know some aspects when you develop these kind of things. If you create a content and this content is viral and this content is on some sort of platform, this is very interesting because you can link with some brands and you can have a whole whole lot of offers of micro content by different smaller creators linked with a brand. But this is more like an approach of brand awareness, stimulating content creation for these brands. But when you want to develop these kind of games, it's okay for you to learn how to do this by using these platforms. But it's important to know that there is a gap, and marketing is one of these challenges. Because as I said, we have a broad approach. This is cautionary tale that's interesting for everyone to know.
Yeah, for sure, marketing is the key. We see that not only for the studios who want to create their own game and IP, they need also marketing skills to promote and to sell the game. And we see more and more young people passionate by video games in marketing schools, and they dream to work in the industry. So we have to open the studios, and the owner of the studios have to look a little bit more to the marketing side for their own, but also for that kind of project, because the brand who's paying for the development of the game is expecting a return on investment. So it's important to understand that, and not only finding good mechanics for the players, but also how we can reach then the audience and bring. You can compare that with esport. For many years, esport, and still now, the #1 revenue is sponsoring, but just putting a logo on a stream is no more enough. So we have to find other ways to bring the product and the brand in front of the audience for a creative way. And even in marketing, we can be, and we have to be creative.
Yeah, that's exactly. As I said, they need to be part of a larger marketing strategy. This is something that for me is very important. The ADVERGAME need to be a part of a larger marketing strategy. So this is something that is sometimes harder for a very starter level company to do, but it's on the content creators platform. This is another approach. Okay.
Reaching the end of this presentation.
Yeah, your last question?
Yes. You find your question back or not?
Answered.
Take the mic then, please.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Okay. No more question? Yes, Lionel.
ADVERGAMES, because I know they had a big resurgence, especially during COVID. But with the advent of gaming platforms and game as a services, we saw that many luxury brands such as Prada and so on tend now to partner with big publishers and less with smaller studios who are seeking in ADVERGAMES a means to an end in order to finance other types of projects. And what's the future for ADVERGAMES?
I think that these are different flavors of the same objective. For example, you can, as a brand, you can have a strategy only with micro influencers, for example, and you can have a traditional campaign on TV, and you can have a different kind of branding awareness on, for example, on physical sites. Depending on the public, depending on where your consumer are, you can develop different kinds of games. I don't believe that games, tailored games as we develop, and content, player-created content platforms, they don't compete on the level. Of course, they compete on the level of awareness, because people they have 24 hours on one day to play. But this is something that has to do with the how these platforms are new. As Jean said, on the beginning of the internet, there was a lot of free, very cheap, very bad games. This is happening something with the content creator. Not all of the content created by players are good. A lot of them are bad, but there are some contents that they get some exposure because they are really good. So I believe that the future is that when people are perceiving that these are different flavors for the same objective, and then you need to choose which one is the better for the audience that you are trying to reach. You know, if you know that your audience is mainly composed of Fortnite players, it could make a lot of more sense for you to develop a content inside Fortnite, okay? But if you, for example, want to reach an audience that is a little older, it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to develop a game inside Fortnite. You could develop a game for a mobile version of it, you know. So it's a for me, and I have seen this in the industry for our clients. There are different flavors depending on how you want to reach your audience. The good thing is that this audience, the kids that are playing Fortnite right now, they have a platform for not only to create, but to be impacted on this. And this audience wasn't favored before. Like, for example, when Wii was launched in 2005, and the iPhone started the mobile gaming as we know today in 2007, 2008, the casual gamer didn't exist as a target. You know, so new platforms, new technologies, they create new opportunities for different kinds of players to be impacted by the brands. So this is how I think about the approach. Okay.
It was perfect. Thank you very much.
Yes, a big applause for Adrian. This is the end of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.